Aesop's Fables by Aesop. The Frogs Desiring a King. The frogs live happily in a marshy swamp. They care for nobody. They don't have any trouble with anyone. But some of the frogs think that this is not right. They say, "We must have a king. The king will keep us in order." So they ask Jupiter, god of the sky, to send a king. "Mighty Jupiter," they cry, "send us a king. We want a king to rule over us." Jupiter laughs at their croaking and makes a joke to the frogs. He throws down into the swamp a huge log. The log comes down splashing into the swamp. It makes a terrible sound. The frogs are frightened and all rush to look at the horrible monster. But after a time, the log doesn't move. It stands still on the swamp. One of the frogs goes toward the log and touches it, but the log still does not move. Then the greatest hero of the frogs jumps upon the log and begins dancing on the log. All the frogs come and do the same. They are not afraid of the log anymore. After some time, the frogs go on with their business every day. They don't care about their new king log. But this does not suit them, so they send another message to Jupiter. They say to him, "We want a real king. He must really rule over us." This makes Jupiter angry, so he sends them a big stork. The stork soon begins gobbling them all up. Then the frogs feel regret, but it is too late. Better no rule than cruel rule. The Town Mouse and the Country Mouse. A town mouse goes to visit his cousin in the country. They love each other very much. The country mouse is very happy to see the town mouse. He has beans and bacon, cheese and bread. He prepares the meal. But the town mouse doesn't like the meal. He turns up his long nose and says, "I cannot understand you. How can you put up with such poor food? Can't you find anything better?" The country mouse is sad. He offers all his food to his cousin, but his cousin doesn't like it. Then the town mouse says, "You live in the country, but you cannot find anything better here. Come with me to the town. I will show you how to live. You will find all kinds of food there. You will enjoy the town very much, and maybe you will live there." The country mouse gets excited. He accepts his cousin's offer. The two mice set off for the town. They arrive at the town mouse's residence late at night. "I think after our long journey, you are hungry. Let's have a meal," says the polite town mouse. He takes his cousin into the grand dining room. There they find the remains of a fine feast. Soon the two mice eat up jellies and cakes. Everything is nice. Suddenly they hear growling and barking. "What is that?" says the country mouse. "It is only the dogs of the house," answers the other. "Only?" says the country mouse. He's confused, and he says, "I do not like that music at my dinner." Just at that moment, the door is opened. Two huge mastiffs run in, and the two mice run off. "Goodbye, cousin," says the country mouse. The town mouse is surprised. He asks, "What? Are you going so soon?" "Yes," he replies. Better beans in peace than cakes in fear. The Wolf and the Lamb. Once upon a time, a wolf laps at a spring on a hillside. He looks up and sees a lamb. The lamb is drinking a little lower down. "There's my supper," the wolf thinks. "Now I will find an excuse to eat it." Then he calls out to the lamb, "I am drinking water from here, but you are muddling the water." "No, no," says the lamb. "If the water is muddy up here, it's not my fault, because the water runs down from you to me." The wolf thinks of another trick. "Well then," says the wolf, "you said bad things about me last year. Why did you do that?" "It is impossible," says the lamb. "I am only 6 months old." "You find an excuse for everything," says the wolf. "But I don't care. Anyway, I am going to eat you." He rushes upon the poor little lamb and eats her. But before dying, the lamb gasps out, "Any excuse will serve a tyrant." The dog and the shadow. A dog has got a piece of meat in his mouth. He is carrying it home to eat it in peace. Now, on his way home, he goes across a small river. While crossing, he looks down and sees his own shadow in the water. He thinks it is another dog with a piece of meat in its mouth. He wants to have that meat too. So he makes a snap at the shadow. But he drops his meat out of his mouth. The meat falls into the water. Be careful, or else you lose the substance by grasping at the shadow. The wolf and the crane. A wolf kills an animal and starts to eat it. Suddenly, a small bone in the meat sticks in its throat, and he cannot swallow it. He soon feels pain in his throat. He runs up and down. He groans and needs help. He asks the other animals to remove the bone. "Please take it out," says he, "and I promise to give you a reward." At last the crane agrees to help the wolf. The crane says to the wolf, "Lie on my side. Open your jaws as wide as possible." Then the crane puts its long neck down the wolf's throat, and it takes the bone with its beak. The wolf feels no pain anymore. The crane says to the wolf, "Now you are fine, so keep your promise and please give me my reward." The wolf smiles and shows his teeth to the crane. Then he says, "Be content. You put your head inside a wolf's mouth and you took it out again in safety. This reward is good enough for you." Gratitude and greed do not go together. The lion and the mouse. Once a lion is asleep, and a little mouse is running up and down upon him. The mouse soon wakens the lion. The lion gets angry, so he catches the mouse. He opens his big jaws to swallow him. "Pardon, O king," cries the little mouse. "Forgive me this time. Maybe I will help you in the future." The lion begins to laugh and says, "A mouse will help me?" Then he lets the mouse go. One day, the hunters catch the lion. They tie him to a tree with a rope. Just then, the little mouse sees the hopeless lion. He goes up to him and gnaws away the ropes. The lion is free now. The mouse says, "I was right, wasn't I?" Little friends may prove great friends. The dog and the wolf. A very thin wolf looks around for food. He is almost dead with hunger. While walking, he meets a house dog. "Ah, cousin," says the dog, "you are hungry. Why don't you work, so you can have a regular life and have food? I am working and they are giving me food." "You are right," says the wolf, "but I don't have a place." "I can find a place for you," says the dog. "Come with me to my master, and you can work with me." So the wolf and the dog go to the town together. On the way, The wolf notices the dog's neck. The hair on the dog's neck is worn away. So he asks the dog, "What happened to your neck?" "Oh, it is nothing," says the dog. "They put a collar on my neck at night and chained me up. It chafes a bit, but don't worry, it is not so important." "Is that all?" says the wolf. "Then goodbye to you." It is better to starve free than to be a fat slave. The Lion and the Statue. Once upon a time, a man and a lion start discussing. The man says men are stronger than the lions. The lion says just the opposite. The man says, "We are stronger than the lions because we are much more intelligent. Come now with me, and I will prove that I am right." So he takes the lion into the public gardens. There he shows him a statue of Hercules. "You see," says the man, "Hercules is overcoming the lion and tearing his mouth in two." "That is all very well," says the lion, "but it proves nothing, because a man made the statue." We can easily represent things as we wish them to be. The Man and the Serpent. A countryman's son treads upon a serpent's tail by accident. The serpent suddenly turns and bites the boy, and the boy dies. His father is very sad and angry. He wants to take revenge. So he gets his axe and follows the serpent. Then he cuts off part of its tail. This time the serpent wants to take his revenge. He stings the farmer's cows. Then the farmer thinks, it is better to make peace with the serpent. So he brings food and honey to the serpent and says, "Let's forget and forgive. We are both satisfied now. Why don't we be friends now?" "No, no," says the serpent. "Take away your gifts. You can never forget the death of your son. I can never forget the loss of my tail." Injuries may be forgiven, but not forgotten. The Fox and the Cat. A fox is telling a cat how clever he is. "I have many tricks," he says. "I know 100 ways of escaping from my enemies." "I have only one," says the cat, "but it is enough for me. I can manage with that." Just at that moment, they hear the cries of hounds. They are coming towards them. The cat immediately jumps up a tree and hides herself. "This is my plan," says the cat. "What are you going to do?" The fox thinks first of one way, then of another. He cannot decide what to do. While he is thinking, the hounds come nearer and nearer. They catch the fox, and the huntsmen soon kill the fox. The cat says, "Better one safe way than 100 ways on which you cannot reckon." The Fox and the Lion. A fox meets a lion. This is the first time that the fox sees a lion. The fox is terribly frightened, so he runs away and hides himself in the forest. But the next time, he comes near to the lion and looks at the lion from a safe distance. The third time, the fox goes very near to the lion. He begins talking with the lion. He asks about his family, etc. Then he turns his tail and parts from the lion, without any ceremony. Familiarity breeds contempt. The Fox and the Goat. A fox falls into a well. The well is so deep that he cannot get out. After some time, a goat passes by and asks the fox, "What are you doing down there?" The fox says, "There is going to be a great drought, so I jumped down here, so I will have water. Why don't you come down too?" The goat thinks that it is a good idea, so he jumps down into the well. But the fox immediately jumps on her back. He puts his feet on her long horns and jumps out of the well. "Where are you going?" the goat asks the fox. And the fox says, "Never trust the advice of a man in difficulties." The Wolf and the Kid. A kid sits on the top of a house. While looking down, he sees a wolf passing near the house. Immediately, he begins to revile and attack his enemy. "Murderer and thief!" he cries. "What are you doing here near honest people's houses? You are such a bad creature. How can you come here?" "My young friend," says the wolf, "it is easy to be brave from a safe distance." The Swallow and the Other Birds. A countryman is placing some hemp seeds into the field. A swallow and some other birds are hopping about and picking up their food at the same field. "Be careful with that man," says the swallow. "Why, what is he doing?" says the others. "That is hemp seed he is sowing. Be careful to pick up every one of the seeds, or else you will repent it." The birds pay no attention to the swallow's words. As time passes by, the hemp grows. The countryman makes a rope from the hemp, and then he makes a net from the ropes. One day, a bird is caught in nets. "What did I tell you?" asks the swallow. "Destroy the seed of evil, or it will grow and destroy you." The Mountains in Labor. One day, the countrymen look at the mountains and notice that something unusual is happening. Smoke is coming out of the mountain's summits. The earth is quaking at their feet. Trees are crashing, and huge rocks are tumbling. They feel that something horrible is going to happen. They all come together in one place to see what terrible thing this is. They wait and they wait, but nothing comes. At last, there is a violent earthquake. A huge gap appears in the side of the mountains. They all fall down upon their knees and wait. At last, a tiny mouse pokes its little head and rises out of the gap and comes running down toward them. Ever after, they used to say, "Much outcry, little outcome." The Hares and the Frogs. Once the hares are very sad. They think, "All the other beasts treat us very cruelly. We must go somewhere else." But they do not know where to go. When they see a single animal approaching, they get frightened and run away quickly. One day they see wild horses running about, and all the hares, in a panic, run to the river. They think, "It is better to drown than to live with an endless fear." But just as they get near the lake, a troop of frogs, frightened of the hares, jump into the water. "Truly," says one of the hares, "things are not as bad as they seem." There is always someone worse off than you. The Woodman and the Serpent. One winter day, a woodman is going home from his work. Then he notices something black lying on the snow. When he comes closer, he sees it is a serpent. The serpent is very cold, and it is about to die. The woodman takes it up. He tries to keep it warm, and he hurries home. As soon as he gets in, he puts the serpent before the fire. The children watch it and see that it slowly comes to life again. Then one of them tries to touch it slowly. Suddenly, the serpent raises its head. It is about to sting the child. So the woodman seizes his axe. He cuts the serpent in two, and he says, no gratitude from the wicked. The Bald Man and the Fly. A bald man is sitting down after work on a hot summer day. A fly comes up and keeps buzzing about his head. Then the fly begins stinging him from time to time. The man tries to hit his little enemy, but he hits his head instead. Again the fly disturbs him, but this time the man is wiser and he says, "You will only injure yourself if you take notice of worthless enemies." The Fox and the Stork. The fox and the stork are very good friends. One day, the fox invites the stork to dinner. He wants to make a joke, so he puts nothing before her but some soup in a very shallow dish. The fox can easily lap it up, but the stork cannot. She is hungry, but she leaves the meal. "I am sorry," says the fox. "I think you don't like soup." "Do not apologize," says the stork. "I hope you will come and have dinner with me soon." This time, the fox visits the stork. They sit at the table. Their dinner is in a very long-necked jar with a narrow mouth. The fox cannot eat anything. He can only lick the outside of the jar. "I will not apologize for the dinner," says the stork. One bad turn deserves another. The Milkmaid and her Pail. A milkmaid is going to market to sell milk. She carries her milk in a pail on her head. As she goes along, she thinks what to do with her money. "I'll buy some poultry from Farmer Brown, so I will have eggs each morning. I will sell the eggs. With that money, I will buy myself some new clothes and a new hat. When I go to market, all the young men will come up and speak to me. My friend, Polly Shaw, will be jealous, but I don't care. I shall just look at her and toss my head like this." While speaking, she tosses her head back, and the pail falls down. All the milk spills. She is very sad. She goes back home and tells everything to her mother. "Ah, my child," says the mother. "Do not count your chickens before they get out of the eggs." The CAT-MAIDEN. The gods are once discussing together. Jupiter says, "It is possible for a living being to change its nature." But Venus says, "No." Jupiter says, "So I will prove this. I will turn a cat into a maiden, and she will be a young man's wife." Jupiter really turns a cat to a maiden. The wedding day comes. The young couple sit down to the wedding feast. "See," said Jupiter to Venus, "who can tell that yesterday she was but a cat? Her nature is changed." "Wait a minute," replies Venus, "and let's get a mouse into the room." When the bird sees the mouse, she jumps up from her seat and tries to catch the mouse. "Ah, you see," says Venus, "nature will come out." The Jay and the Peacock. One day, a jay is wandering around. He comes to a garden. This is a garden of peacocks. There he finds a number of feathers of the peacocks. He ties them all to his tail and walks proudly toward the peacocks. When he comes nearer, the peacocks soon discover the cheat. They pull out his borrowed feather. So the jay has to go back to the other jays, but the jays don't like his cheat. They say to him, "It is not only fine feathers that make fine birds." The Hart and the Hunter. Once a hart is drinking from a pool and watching his figure in the water. "Ah," says he, "I have such noble antlers. How beautiful they are! But what a pity, my legs are so thin." At that moment, a hunter approaches to him and sends an arrow. Soon, by the help of his nimble legs, he runs away very quickly. While passing under some trees, his antlers are caught in the branches of the trees, so the hunter has time to come up. "Unfortunately," cries the hart, "we often despise what is most useful to us." The belly and the members. On a fine day, the members of the body are talking with each other. They say, "We are doing all the work and the belly is having all the food. This is not fair." So they hold a meeting, and after a long discussion, they make a decision. "We will stop working till the belly accepts to share our work." So for a day or two, the hands refuse to take the food, the mouth refuses to receive it, and the teeth have no work to do. But after a day or two, the members begin to find that they are not in a very active condition. The hands cannot move, the mouth is all dry, the legs cannot support the rest. So they find out that the belly is doing necessary work for the body and say, "We must all work together, or the body will go to pieces." The frog and the ox. "Oh, father," says a little frog to his father sitting by the side of a pool, "there's a terrible monster. It's as big as a mountain, with horns on its head and a long tail, and its legs are divided in two." "No, child," says the old frog, "that is only the farmer's ox. It isn't so big either. He may be a little bit taller than I, but I can easily make myself as broad as the ox. Just look at me." So he blows himself out, and blows himself out, and blows himself out. "Is he as big as that?" asks the old frog. "Oh, much bigger than that," says the young frog. Again, the old one blows himself out, and asks the young one, "Is the ox as big as that?" "Bigger, father, bigger," is the reply. So the frog takes a deep breath, and blows and blows and blows, and gets bigger and bigger. Then he says, "I'm sure the ox is not as big as this." But at this moment he bursts. Self-conceit may lead to self-destruction. Androcles. A slave named Androcles once escapes from his master and runs to the forest. As he is wandering about, he sees a lion lying down groaning. At first, Androcles turns to escape, but the lion does not attack him. So he turns back and goes up to the lion. As he comes near, the lion puts out his paw. His paw is bleeding. There is a huge thorn in his paw, and that is causing all the pain. So Androcles pulls out the thorn and bounds up the lion's paw. Soon the lion can rise up. He licks the hand of Androcles like a dog. Then the lion takes Androcles to his cave, and every day he brings him meat. But shortly afterwards the soldiers find Androcles and the lion. They say to Androcles, "We will punish you. You will be thrown to the lion." They keep him without food for several days. Then they take Androcles into the middle of the arena. The emperor comes to watch them. They let the lion into the arena. The lion rushes toward his victim. When the lion comes nearer Androcles, he recognizes his friend. He licks Androcles' hands like a friendly dog. The emperor is surprised at this. He calls Androcles. Androcles tells him the whole story. The emperor forgives Androcles. He lets him and the lion free. Gratitude is the sign of noble souls. The two pots. Two pots are on the bank of a river, one of brass and one of earthenware. When the tide rises, they both float off down the stream. Now the earthenware pot tries to keep away from the brass one. The brass pot cries out, "Fear nothing, friend, I will not hit you. But if I come too close and if I hit you, or you hit me, I shall be hurt." The strong and the weak cannot keep company. The 4 cows and the lion. A lion is going around a field in which 4 cows live in. He tries to attack them many times, but whenever he comes near, they turn their tails to one another. So when he approaches one of them, he meets the horns of one of the cows. At last, the cows have a quarrel among themselves. Each begins to stay alone in a corner. Then the lion attacks them one by one and soon makes an end of all 4. United we stand, divided we fall. The fisher and the little fish. A fisher, after fishing all day, catches only a little fish. "Please let me go," says the fish. "I am too small for your eating just now. If you put me back into the river, I will soon grow. Then you can make a fine meal off me." "No, no, no, my little fish," says the fisher. "I have you now, I may not catch you laughter." A little thing in hand is worth more than a great thing in the future. The bat, the birds, and the beasts. A great conflict is about to come off between the birds and the beasts. So they are divided into 2 parties. The bat cannot decide which to join. The birds say to the bat, "Come with us," but he says, "I am a beast." Later on, some beasts look up and say to the bat, "Come with us," but he says, "I am a bird." Luckily, at the last moment they make peace, and no battle takes place, so the bat comes to the birds and wishes to join them, but they all turn against him, and he has to fly away. He then goes to the beasts, but they tell him to go away. "Ah," says the bat, "I see now. He that is neither one thing nor the other has no friends." The hart and the ox stall. One day the hounds run after a hart. The hart escapes. While running, he sees an ox stall. He hides himself in the hay, leaving nothing to be seen but the tips of his horns. After a little while, the hunters come up. They ask the stable boys, "Have you seen a hart here?" The stable boys look around but can see nothing, so the hunters go away. Shortly afterwards, the master comes in and looks around. He says, "There is something unusual here." He points to the hay and says, "What are those sticking out of the hay?" The stable boys come to look and they see the hart. The hart learns that nothing escapes the master's eye. The fox and the grapes. One hot summer's day, a fox is walking in a garden. He sees grapes on a vine. He runs and jumps, but misses the grapes. Turning round again with a 1, 2, 3, he jumps up, but again he cannot reach the grapes. Again and again he tries, but at last he gives it up and walks away with his nose in the air, saying, "I am sure they are sour." It is easy to despise what you cannot get. The horse, the hunter, and the stag. The horse and the stag have a quarrel. The horse comes to a hunter and asks the hunter to help him. The hunter agrees but says, "I will put this piece of iron between your jaws. I will guide you with these reins. I will put this saddle upon your back, so I can keep steady upon you while following the stag." The horse agrees, and the hunter soon saddles and reins him. Then with the help of the hunter, the horse soon overcomes the stag and says to the hunter, "Now get off and remove those things from my mouth and back." "Not so fast, friend," says the hunter. "I can control you now, and I want to keep you as you are now." If you allow men to use you for your own purposes, they will use you for theirs. The Peacock and Jupiter. A peacock wants to have the voice of a nightingale, so he asks Jupiter, "Please, in addition to my other attractions, I want to have the voice of a nightingale." But Jupiter refuses his request. The peacock says, "But I am your favorite bird. Why don't you help me?" Jupiter says, "Be content with your lot. One cannot be first in everything." The wolf in sheep's clothing. A wolf cannot attack the sheep because of the shepherd and his dogs. But one day he finds a skin of a sheep, so he puts it on and strolls down among the sheep. The lamb begins to follow the wolf in the sheep's clothing. Leading the lamb a little apart, the wolf soon makes a meal off her. Appearances are deceptive. The young thief and his mother. A young man is caught while stealing something. He will be punished for it. He says, "My last desire is to see my mother and speak with her." His mother comes and he whispers something in her mother's ear. All the people think he is very inhuman and heartless. "Why do you behave so badly to your poor mother?" they ask. "It is to punish her," he says. "When I was small, I began with stealing little things. I brought them home to mother. Instead of punishing me, she laughed and said, 'They will not notice. Today I am here just because of her.'" "He is right," says the priest. Train a child in a proper way, and when he is old, he will not depart from that way. The man and his 2 wives. A middle-aged man has 2 wives. One wife is old, and the other one is young. Each loves him very much and wants to see him like herself. As time passes, the man's hair begins to turn gray. The young wife does not like that because it makes him look too old for her. So every night she combs his hair and picks out the white ones. The elder wife is happy with her husband's gray hair. "I am getting older and he is getting older. This is better," she thinks. So every morning when she combs her husband's hair, she picks out the black ones. In the last, the man soon finds himself bald. Yield to all, and you will soon have nothing to yield. The nurse and the wolf. "Be quiet now," says an old nurse to a child. "If you make that noise again, I will throw you to the wolf." One day, a wolf passes under their window, and he hears the nurse saying to the child, "Be quiet. If you are not quiet, I will throw you to the wolf." So the wolf comes down by the side of the house. While waiting, he thinks, "I am in good luck today. The child will cry soon, and the nurse will throw him to me." So he waits, and he waits, and he waits, till the child begins to cry. The wolf comes forward before the window. He looks up to the nurse, but the nurse shuts the window and calls for help. Then the dogs of the house come rushing out. "Ah," says the wolf as he runs away. Enemies never keep their promises. The tortoise and the birds. A tortoise desires to change his house, so he asks an eagle, "Please carry me to my new house, and I will pay you for it." The eagle agrees to this offer. He seizes the tortoise by the shell, and he flies. On their way, they meet a crow. The crow says to the eagle, "The tortoise can be a good meal." "The shell is too hard," replies the eagle. "The rocks will break the shell," says the crow. The eagle lets the tortoise fall on a sharp rock, and the two birds make a meal of the tortoise. Never fly up on an enemy's wings. The two crabs. One fine day, two crabs come out from their home to take a walk on the sand. The mother does not like his child's walking. She says, "I don't like the way you walk. You are twisting from side to side. You must walk straight forward." "Please, mother," says the young crab, "you set the example yourself, and I will follow you." Example is the best teaching. The ass and the lion's skin. One day, the hunters leave out a lion's skin in the sun to dry. An ass finds the skin. He puts it on and goes toward his village. When he approaches, the men and the animals run away, and he is very proud of himself. So he raises up his voice and brays. Just then, everyone knows him. His owner comes and beats him, saying, "You frightened us all." And then a fox comes up to him and says, "Oh, I knew you by your voice." Fine clothes may disguise, but silly words will disclose a fool. The two fellows and the bear. Two fellows are traveling together through the woods. Suddenly, a bear rushes out upon them. One of the travelers is in the front. He holds the branch of a tree and hides himself among the leaves. The other one is helpless, so he throws himself down upon the ground with his face in the dust. The bear comes up to him. He puts his nose close to his ear and sniffs and sniffs. But at last he goes away, because bears do not touch dead meat. Then the fellow in the tree comes down to his friend. He laughs and asks, "What did the bear whisper to you?" "He told me," says the other, "never trust a friend who leaves you in danger." The goose with the golden eggs. One day, a countryman goes to the nest of his goose. He finds there an egg all yellow and glittering. He takes it up. The egg is very heavy. He thinks, "Somebody is playing a trick on me." For a moment, he decides to throw it away. But then he takes it home. He soon finds that the egg is of pure gold. Every morning, the same thing happens. The countryman soon becomes rich by selling his eggs. As he becomes rich, he becomes greedy. He thinks to get all the gold at once. So he kills the goose and opens it, but he finds nothing. Greed often reaches itself. The laborer and the nightingale. A laborer is listening to a nightingale's song one summer night. He likes it very much. The next night he catches the nightingale. "Now you are mine," he cries. "You will always sing to me." "We nightingales never sing in a cage," says the bird. "Then I will eat you," says the laborer. "No, don't kill me," says the nightingale. "Let me go, and I will tell you 3 important things. They are worthier than my poor body." The laborer lets him free, and he flies up to a branch of a tree. Before flying, he says to the laborer, "Never believe a captive's promise. Keep what you have. And the 3rd advice is, don't be sorry for what is lost forever." The man, the boy, and the donkey. A man and his son are going to market with their donkey. As they walk along, a countryman passes them and says, "You fools, you have a donkey, but you don't ride upon it. You just walk with it." So the man puts the boy on the donkey, and they go on their way. But soon they pass a group of men. One of the men from the group says, "Look at that lazy boy. He rides the donkey, but his father walks. So the man tells his boy to get off, and he gets on the donkey himself. This time, 2 women pass. One of them say, "Shame on you! The poor boy is walking alone and you are riding?" The man doesn't know what to do, and then he takes his son up before him. They both are on the donkey now. They come to the town, but the people in the town look at them angrily. The father stops and asks them, "What is wrong? Why are you looking at us?" The men say, "Aren't you ashamed of yourself? You and your son are riding that poor donkey." The man and the boy get off and think what to do. They think and they think. Then they find a solution. They cut down a pole. They tie the donkey's feet to it. Then they raise the pole and the donkey to their shoulders. They go along, but all the people laugh at them. When they come on a bridge, by accident, the boy drops the pole, and the donkey falls over the bridge and drowns. "That will teach you," says an old man. "If you want to please everyone, you will please none." The man and his gold. Once upon a time, there is a man who keeps everything and hides them for future use. He always hides his gold at the foot of a tree in his garden. Every week he goes and digs it up and looks at his gains. A thief once notices this, and he digs up the gold and runs away with it. When the man comes to look at his treasures, he finds nothing but the empty hole. He is very unhappy. He cries so much that all the neighbors come around him. He says to them, "Every week I came here and looked at my gold." One of the neighbors asks, "Did you ever take any gold from there?" The man says, "No, I only came to look at them." "Then come again and look at the hole," says the neighbor. "There is no difference." Wealth unused is useless. The one-eyed doe. A doe loses one of her eyes. She can't see anyone approaching her on that side. She always feeds on a high cliff near the sea. She looks toward the land with one eye, so when the hunters are approaching, she can easily escape. But the hunters find out that one of her eyes is blind. They hire a boat. They row the boat under the cliff where she feeds. She cannot see them. The hunters shoot her from the sea. "Ah!" cries the doe. "You cannot escape your fate." The cat and the bell. The mice want to beat their enemy, the cat. They have a meeting. Everyone says something different to get rid of the cat. At last a young mouse gets up and says, "I have a proposal. You know that our enemy is very tricky. We cannot notice her, so she catches us. But if there is a signal of her coming, we can easily escape from her. This is my proposal. We must have a bell. We must attach this bell by a ribbon round the neck of the cat. When the cat is around, we can hear her coming and run away." The mice like this proposal, but an old mouse gets up and asks, "This is very well, but who is going to put the bell on the neck of the cat?" The mice look at one another. They are silent now. Then the old mouse says, "It is easy to propose impossible solutions." The Old Man and Death. An old laborer gathers sticks in the forest. He bends up and down and he gets very tired. He gets sad and throws all the sticks down. He cries out, "I cannot bear this life any longer. I am very old and I am getting tired very quickly. Ah, I wish death would come and take me." As he speaks, Death appears and asks him, "What do you want, old man? I heard you calling me." "Please, sir," answers the old man, "will you help me to lift these sticks on my shoulder?" We will often be sorry if our wishes are fulfilled. The hare with many friends. Once upon a time, there is a very popular hare. All the other beasts want to be her friends. One day, the hare hears the hounds approaching. She thinks, "I have many friends. They can help me escape." So she goes to the horse and asks him, "Will you please carry me away from the hounds on your back?" The horse says, "I am sorry. I have some very important work to do, but I am sure that all your other friends can come and help you." The hare then goes to the bull and asks, "The hounds are after me. Will you please fight with them and save me?" The bull replies, "I am very sorry, but I am busy. I am sure that our friend the goat will help you." The hare asks the goat for help, but the goat says, "The ram is the proper friend to help you." So the hare goes to the ram and tells him the whole story. The ram says, "Another time, my friend. I cannot help you today because it is very dangerous for me. You know that the hounds eat sheep as well as hares." As a last hope, the hare goes to the calf and asks for help. But the calf says, "I am sorry, but I cannot help you. Many older beasts don't help you, so I cannot take all the responsibility by myself." The hounds are quite near now, and the hare takes a deep breath and begins to run away. Luckily, he escapes. If you have many friends, you have no friends. The Lion in Love. A lion once falls in love with a beautiful girl. He wants to marry her, so he goes to her parents and says to them, "I want to marry your daughter." The old people don't know what to say. They do not like to give their daughter to the lion, but they don't want to make the lion angry, because he is the king of the beasts. At last the father says, "We are honored by your majesty's proposal, but our daughter is a tender young girl. We fear that with your strong feelings, you might possibly do her some injury. I want to suggest something to you. Your Majesty, will you please have your claws removed and your teeth taken out, so we would think about your proposal again?" The lion is very much in love with the girl, so he accepts everything. He has his claws removed and his teeth taken out. Then he goes to see the parents of the young girl. But when the parents see the lion, they laugh in his face. Love can tame the wildest. The Lion, the Fox, and the Beasts. The lion is the lord of the beasts. One day he sends an order to the animals. "I am very sick. I am about to die. Come and hear my last will." So the goat comes to the lion's cave and stays there listening for a long time. Then a sheep goes in. Before the sheep comes out, a calf comes up to listen to the lion. But soon the lion seems to get well. He comes to the door of his cave and sees the fox. The fox waits outside the cave, but he does not come in. "Why do you not come and listen to my last will?" says the lion to the fox. "I am very sorry," says the fox, "but I notice the animals visiting you. I see many footmarks going in, but I see none coming out. When the animals in your cave come out, I will come in, but till then I will stay here. It is easier to get into the enemy's trap than out again." The Horse and the Ass. A horse and an ass are traveling together. The ass is carrying a heavy load and he is having difficulty. "I wish I were you," says the ass to the horse. "You have nothing to do. You don't have to carry anything, and you are fed well." The next day, however, there is a great battle. The horse is wounded in the battle. His friend, the ass, passes by shortly afterwards and finds the horse on the point of death. "I was wrong," says the ass. "Better humble security than gilded danger." The Trumpeter taken prisoner. A trumpeter during a battle ventures too near the enemy. The enemies capture him. They are about to kill him. The trumpeter begs them not to be killed. He says, "Please don't kill me. I do not fight. I don't carry any weapons. I only blow this trumpet. A trumpet cannot harm you. Then why should you kill me?" "You may not fight yourself," said the others, "but you encourage and guide your men to the fight." Words may be deeds. The Ant and the Grasshopper. In a field one summer's day, a grasshopper is hopping about, chirping and singing to its heart's content. An ant passes by. The ant is bearing corn to the nest. "Why not come and chat with me," says the grasshopper, "instead of working so hard?" "I'm helping to lay up food for the winter," says the ant, "and recommend you do the same." "Why bother about winter?" says the grasshopper. "We have plenty of food now." The ant goes on its way and continues his hard work. When the winter comes, the grasshopper has no food and finds itself dying of hunger. Then the grasshopper sees the ants taking corn and grain from their stores. Then the grasshopper knows it is best to prepare for the days of necessity. The lion's share. The lion goes once hunting along with the fox, the jackal, and the wolf. They hunt and they hunt, till at last they attack a stag and soon take its life. Then the fox asks, "How shall we divide the spoil?" "I will judge it," roars the lion. "Divide the stag into quarters." So the other animals take the skin off the stag and cut it into 4 parts. Then the lion stands in front of the meat and begins ordering. "The first quarter is for me as the king of beasts. The second is mine as the judge. Another share comes to me for my part in the chase. And as for the 4th quarter, well, as for that, which of you will dare to take it?" "Oh," says the fox as he walks away with his tail between his legs. "You may share the labors of the great, but you will not share the spoil." The Hare and the Tortoise. The hare is once boasting of his speed before the other animals. "No one can beat me," says he, "when I put forth my full speed. I challenge anyone here to race with me." The tortoise says quietly, "I accept your challenge." "That's a good joke," says the hare. "I can dance round you all the way." "Don't boast till you beat," answers the tortoise, and then asks, "Shall we race?" So a course is fixed and a start is made. The hare moves rapidly. He is almost out of sight at once, but soon stops. To show his contempt for the tortoise, he lays down to have a nap. The tortoise plods on and plods on. Then the hare awakes from his nap, and he sees the tortoise just near the winning post. He cannot run up in time to save the race. Then the tortoise says, "Plodding wins the race."